Brainlock, and welcome to Tinker Tailor Solar Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner, and I'll be your navigator through tonight's proceedings, but indeed we also have Paul over on the ones and twos to keep me company and keep me on track.
Yes, keeping you on track. That is my job.
I like the snicker instead of the hello this time. Folks, Tinker Tailor Solar Fry is a Let's Try program where we try all sorts of technical, culinary, artistic ventures. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but you're always guaranteed for a good time, if nothing else. On top of that, something else that we always have to mention is the generosity of the great viewers at home who give us so much via patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. I mean, you give us so much via many other methods, emotional and supportive, but monetarily, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you so much, everyone who chooses to show your support via your monthly patronage. As well, thank you to those of you at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, where we're broadcasting right now. You can check us out and help us out there. And also, we're all over YouTube. Loading Ready Run, Loading Ready Live, LRRVG, and LRRTT are the various channels. And of course, everything magic related is sanctioned over at LRRMTG on YouTube. Store.loadingreadyrun.com exists as well, and you can buy a little something for yourself there. Today, we're going to embark on a little piece of construction? Pre-construction, I think, might be a better way of putting it, too. If you are not familiar with the network, I'm on another stream regularly weekly called Rhythm Cafe, where my co-host and I, Heather Deary, play rhythm games. We're not trying to do them all. That's but we are getting through a bunch of them. One of our favorites is Poppin' Music from Konami. And we've played with the regular controllers on your PS2. We've also been sent a lovely miniature Poppin' Music controller thing, but we've always wanted to be able to play together two-player style, and we've always wanted to play kind of big with the big punchy buttons. So what I did is I went on to the Seattle Delivery Company and noticed that they have a bunch of big punchy buttons available for relatively inexpensive amount of money. And we've also got these large arcade standees with a removable top so you can take the joysticks off. And I thought to myself, hey, what if we took a new piece of wood, drilled some holes in it, put some buttons in it, and then put that down over top? Could we have ourselves a Poppin' Music setup? And the answer is yes, we could. And so I figured, yeah, why not try that out? Let's make ourselves a Poppin' Music controller. So we're going to do that with the help of these piles of buttons here, these piles of wires here, which are some arcade harnesses left over from the Dreamcast. Not the Dreamcast, sorry, the Naomi conversion that we've worked on in the past. And we're going to wire it all up with the thing that went away. Aha! The important piece. Our little microcontroller for today in Arduino Leonardo. Why that one? Because it's smaller than the Do and therefore less expensive, but it provides enough input and output ports that we can control the buttons and also the LEDs in these buttons. Oh, did I not mention that these are light-up buttons? Yes, they are.
Does the game actually have functions to light up the buttons that you could translate?
It does, actually. The game normally will just put them on and off as you push them in, but there's a tracked mode for the game, and because the Arduino is a dual-way system between the arcade game and the controller cabinet, if we were to go with the full Do system, you would have pin outputs for the side lights, a sort of VU meter on the top of it, and each of the various controller lights themselves. But at the moment, this one should only have enough pins to allow us to hook up the lights on the controllers, and they, in a tracked mode, will do their little dance and then go into the on or off mode, depending on how we want to set it up. There's actually a little EXE that you can run to switch the modes on the Arduino so that it's either on press or off on press or on some sort of a dance configuration.
So is this intended to interface with a emulated version of Poppin' Music on PC, or is this intended to interface with a PlayStation?
Good question, Paul. It's actually both. The pop music cabinets that you see in Japan from, I believe, the 10th version of the game on up are all based on Windows XP. They're literally just PCs running Windows XP, running the pop music software. And so that's what makes this this so useful, is that you get that USB connectivity and it does all the interface itself.
Huh, that's quite unique.
Yeah.
So Poppin' Music had just weirdly decided to make their cabinet like just a PC.
It's actually pretty common in PC, or not in PCs, but in arcades these days, to just be a PC, because it's kind of the same decision the console makers decided on. It's PC hardware is cheap and available,
Right.
and much easier than trying to design your own.
And we're at the point now where it's not like they can. It's it used to be that you use specialized hardware for arcade cabinets because it would be faster and you could do more impressive stuff. But there isn't really that gulf of power anymore.
Exactly. In fact, I was looking at the specs for the Bimani PCs, as they're known, because they run other Konami rhythm games like Guitar Freaks and Cubitos, I think is the name of it. Anyway, there's a bunch of them, but it was a Intel i5-9500 is the CPU, and all of the GPUs are not Radeon, the other one, NV GTX 1650s. So not even the most amazing hardware either. I think they're clocked at 2.9 gigahertz for the CPU. So yeah, nothing huge, but definitely able to be used, and definitely still running Windows XP or 7 sometimes. NX Media says, wait till we tell them about the ATMs. Back in my day, when I was still working for the bank, they were running OS2. And I think a lot of, I think there might still be ATMs out there running OS2 these days. So yeah, embedded PC hardware, not all that uncommon in the wild. If we can jump back in here to the close-up view here, I'll just go through the quick assembly of one of the buttons themselves. Basically, this is the actual switch of the button, just a standard micro switch. And what happens here is that gets slotted into this device, this holder. And there's a certain direction that it goes in. And I did most of them, but I didn't do all of them because I thought y'all might want to be interested in seeing how it goes together. So that slides in there. This piece just bends back just a bit, and then that connects in the hole. And there you go. You've got your first piece of assembly. Your LED then goes in the top in its little holder here. Oop. And the whole thing slides into the bottom of the button. And I'm not sure if it's visible, but there's a couple hooks, or right there and there. Those correspond with little indents in the button. And you slide it in, twist it, it clicks in place, and there you go. And it makes that nice, really good, satisfying click sound as the little plunger pushes down against the actual switch itself.
I love that it's the giant button that then moves a little
just a
teeny
little
weeny thing to turn a little teeny weeny click.
Inside. So the switch itself has a couple spade terminals. Those are just these are, I believe, normally open connections, and then a couple separate controls for the LED bus, which uses a slightly larger LED spade terminal. So what we're going to do to actually work this out today is I didn't buy the MDF yet because I was trying to wonder whether or not we want to try doing a 2-player or 1-player layout. And I think we're just going to start with, we're going to measure out some space on the cardboard and see what fits first. And then we'll get to wiring up the first one and see how it works. Oh no, wait a minute.
Would you need 2 Arduinos to do a 2-player?
Yes, I would. I'm just noticing here, I thought for a half second that I had bought the wrong, an incorrect or non-matching button sets. But no, it turns out that I just received one non-matching button in the button sets. Because these should be all domed.
They should be all domed.
Yep, and we got one flat one. So we'll have to, I'll have to send a letter back to the...
Is the other red one flat?
The other red one is round.
Maybe you've just been clicking that one too much and it's flattened out.
I think we might be okay though, because I believe, and I'm just checking my Pop and Music controller layout, because I'm going to have that open. Aha!
Right. So are you building a thing to match the arcade cabinet?
That's the idea, yes. So here we go. I'll just bring these up on screen here, or you can take them to the large screen, maybe.
Here, how about that?
That's good enough. So that's our layout here, and these are the your smaller. That's in fact exactly what we have right now. Is this?
I see. The colors are important.
Yeah, lap size, and yeah, the colors do matter. But thankfully, the only one that's not doubled is the red one, which is the one we don't have a matching one of. So that's good. But it's a 9-button layout, so that's something we'll have to keep in mind when we're checking the spacing, which I think what we're going to start doing right now. So we'll get that there. We'll wire up the buttons. We'll wire up a couple of the LEDs, and we'll see if we can get some HID output on this before the evening is done. I know that some people have asked in the chat there. Tonight's beer is Fieldhouse's Super Tall Hazy Double IPA, which is hazy, delicious, and not at all too hoppy.
I like their sort of no-name brand style packaging, where it's just like a single color with the text written large on it.
And they do a very good job of choosing inks too, so they all look very luxurious that way. All right, first things first, we need to take measurements of the cabinet for the arcade. I have done this, which means we won't need to do that. I'll just need to look at my list here, which is 86 by 26.5 centimeters. So I think this is just some spare cardboard that kept my cells, which I brought back from Japan, from getting too crushed. And we'll do a quick, just a quick grid on that. Where's my tape measure? There it is. So I'll start by 86 centimeters. Let's, you know what, that seems longer than I think it should be.
86 centimeters?
Yeah, 86 centimeters seems...
It's almost a meter.
Well, that seems about right, actually. Yeah, no,
is that for a 2-player cabinet?
No, I'm basing this off of what we've got for our current standees.
Oh.
So I'm going to try and see if I can fit 2 players into one arcade stand-up.
Oh, yeah, that looks about right for what we currently have. For
Yeah. I think I was reading the inches, thinking they were centimeters, thinking, oh boy. That's no good. Okay, so 86 by 26.5. Do we have 26.5 on the cardboard to deal with, first of all? We do indeed. So let's just mark that off.
By the way, if you want to see more about the those arcade stand-up controllers, there's a couple videos of Ian and Ben, Dandy Geek Ben, working on those. And during the last subathon, which we're going to be having another subathon in about 2 weeks.
Thank you. I was not sure if we'd publicly announced that yet or not. So yes, do tune into that. There will be some fun Tinker Tailor Solder Fry adventures. Not going to reveal what they are because you'll have to tune in to find out. But so this is very rough because we're just sketching things out right now. There we go. And I know doing this with a tape is not the smartest idea, but here we are. And then 26.5 down this way.
As far as I know, there is not currently a plan for a second washlet installation. Although I feel like the general tone at the office regarding the washlet has evolved from one of intense suspicion to one of it works pretty well.
Yeah.
It works pretty well. You know, some people use it, some people don't. But
So we finally made it to grudging acceptance.
acceptance. Yeah.
Okay, let's get some buttons out here on this. So we do have that second bathroom if we do want to try doing a second install. It's not like we've run out of toilets. All right, so some of these buttons I've already installed the switch on, taking away good content from you people at home, like a monster. 1, 2, 3.
I like that they have like screw bottoms on them.
Yeah, so there's something else about that I want to mention, because we're going to actually reveal it here in a second. So they've got the screw bottoms, so they fit nice and tight into whatever you're working with.
Can you actually like tap them?
Well, here's the thing. You can remove part of it, and if you want to flush mount your buttons, you can cut your hole to the diameter of just this piece, this inner ring here, and then that one little bit of ring sits flush up against the edge like that.
Ooh, very
Or
nice.
you can have the big piece of plastic on there, and then it stands up off the surface by a little bit. I think we're gonna go flat.
Flush mount is nice.
Yeah, this is what I'd like to do, but I'm unsure as to the size of my my hole saw. So we'll have to check that before we do that, and also buy the wood. But yeah, I like a good flush mount. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna pull these off, and we're gonna use them to do some quick layout.
Speaking of washlet, a good flush mount.
There we go. Good quality everything. All 9. Actually, that's a good question. I hadn't marked the middle point of the area here, and maybe I should do that just to see, or just to make it easier on myself.
That is a large number of buttons.
It is. You only need the 9 if you're going up to the expert levels, but
Let's be serious. Rhythm Cafe, known for being experts.
Heather is there, often playing the game. Remember, I'm just a professional rhythm game player. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm good at it. It just means that I'm being paid for it.
Pop and music, truly the Dark Souls of rhythm games.
Oh, could be. I wonder if there's definitely enough buttons here to do a. Oh yeah, no, you've got your 4 directions: roll, attack, heavy attack, jump if you're Elden Ringing, and potion. Yep, there we go. That's enough for. That's enough to live.
Maybe we did a story on Checkpoint, which is online now. You should go check it out. But somebody beat the Elden Ring DLC with an electronic saxophone.
That's amazing.
He dooted his way to victory.
I had been. I forget where or why I was browsing it, but I was booting to my PC again last night, and opened up Firefox, and the first thing that shows up is player defeats hardest Elden Ring boss using a goldfish.
Wait, what? How was he controlling the goldfish?
I think the goldfish was being used as the player, and the control was for some swimming to various regions on a computer vision camera. But still, it's pretty impressive.
I mean, although I feel like that victory goes to the goldfish, not to the
to the player.
Be like, yeah. I used the goldfish to beat. It's like no, you. The goldfish beat it. You set up the goldfish, but
I mean,
if I give my friend a controller to beat the game with, I didn't beat the game using him.
Yes, local grade 6 player beats Elden Ring using only his friend Paul.
Using only his older brother.
Yeah. Was it? The sad thing is I didn't look at how many attempts it took, but I'm pretty sure it's fewer attempts than it took me to get that boss done. This is handy. This cardboard is actually probably getting the most value that I've got out of a piece of cardboard. $3 from a Japanese hotel lobby, used to put some vinyl inside a suitcase, and now it's becoming a piece of streaming tech. While we figure this thing out.
So the question is whether you have room to do 2 players.
Yeah, and so what I've done is, just to make it easy on myself, I found the center line, which thankfully aligns just off the side of the fold marks. So I can just fold it up like this and mark down 9 buttons this way. And I think this is not going to be a problem at all for us.
No, that fits quite nicely.
Like to the point where I might not even bother with...
Now the trick is, it's not just that the buttons have to fit on, right? There's got to be 2 people, and 2 pairs of shoulders and so forth, sitting in front of this.
Right, so I think you might want a slight angle, but I think, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe if I do
there
that.
You go.
And then I'm not, that's not a bad idea. That's something to keep in mind for the final build too, but I'll lay it out this way and see how it looks. Where's that tape measure? Just to make it easily aligned.
I do wonder about those things with Goldfish playing or Twitch or in some cases Twitch plays, whatever, and it's like, I mean, especially the goldfish one, where it's just controlled by the quadrants that the goldfish is swimming into. It's like, is that appreciably different than just an RNG playing the game? I mean, I guess it would have a bias to it, presumably.
Mm-hmm. Wherever the food is located or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that seems pretty good, I'd say. I'm going to leave this as a rough layout here, but dang it. If I was smart, I would have done it this way to start, but let's just quickly go around some of the arcs here, just to get an idea of where the arcs are.
Is Poppin' Music still quite a popular arcade game in Japan?
It's still an extant video game, which means that it's got some popularity to it.
Because of course, arcades are still a thing in Japan, right? Other than in North America, they're very, there's 1 or 2 around, but they're very niche and they're not really that much of a going concern anymore. But the arcade culture is quite a bit different in Japan.
Mm-hmm. It is still existable. People still do often go there on dates because you'll go to you'll play a rhythm game. You'll go to a picture club. You'll do some crane games. And so that makes for a nice date out. Corey and I were able to try a few interesting new rhythm games that I hadn't played, but I did see at least one pop and music machine in each of the arcades I was at. They do also, though, now have an online service that I think is available outside of Japan that you can subscribe to and play pop music at home on your own PC.
Ooh.
So,
is pop music, it's kind of like, Rock Band or something, where there's like the base game has been around for a long time and then they just keep adding new songs to it?
kind of like that, yeah. There's also a little bit of lore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, the characters change from game to game, and God, there are dozens of the characters.
What's that little thing?
Oh, this is something that's been sent in to us in the past for Tinker Tailor to use, and it is a circle cutter. And I've never had opportunity to use a circle cutter before, and turns out I thought this would be a really good opportunity to give it a try.
Neat.
Yeah. So you can, if you don't want to ruin your own thing, you can put your little center there, and then you just open it up to the size that you want to cut out. Let's see, about the outer edge, because we want the hole to go through. Tighten it up, and there we go. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Oh, wait. Like I said, I haven't used one of these before. Okay, I might need to go ahead and, yeah, this is going to have to be used without the adapter. That over there with there, and just find the center of the circle, poke in, and then well, you know what? It was a good idea, but it'll probably work better on actual circles and small things that can be turned. I don't think it's meant to work on cardboard. Nope, definitely not. Oh well, it was worth a try. So we'll just cut some slits in there and then push things through. We'll keep that for other craft purposes. Where's my knife? There's my hobby knife. Let's cut a slit through each of these, I think. In this one, maybe we'll finish off the hole. All right, there we go. And cross, crash, cross, crash. Give it a bit of extra space so we can. Thank goodness for sharp blades, eh? So that won't be perfect, but it'll at least be able to tell us where we're going. Let's start with this terrible one up here. Ooh, yeah, we should put them in the right colors too. So top right of the pyramid is yellow. And we'll use the clamp at the bottom here to cover that up. Oh, wow. This is actually going to work somewhat. And then
This
white.
is setting them up not to flush mount.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. This is just for us to test mount everything.
Now, I guess theoretically, because you can fold it like this, you could use those to mark the other side
Technically, yeah.
to mirror the other side, right?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do actually, now that I've got an idea of what the dimensions are, is I'm going to actually go into Illustrator and put together a properly spaced grid, and then
And so you
the
actually
space
print
rotated.
out the template. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then I can just drill holes with pilot holes.
I mean, yeah, not just kind of eyeballing it is probably the way to go.
Yep. But, for setting up a test case to see if this is, even going to work, I'd say eyeballing it is fine-ish. And it was, I think, worth doing, too. Rather than deciding beforehand to just drill directly into some MDF. I think it's a much better idea to...
I feel like this is definitely a game where the ergonomics of where all the buttons are is probably pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the nice things when you once you start getting good at a rhythm game and you're anticipating where the notes are going to go, you start to get into those wonderful flow states, and it's. Yeah, at that point, you're exactly right. Ergonomics matter because you can feel like, oh yes, the next note naturally is going to be over here, and then come down with the music.
Right.
For Art in the chat there, yes, indeed, this is an Olfa. It doesn't have a model number on it. 30 degrees SAC 1 for graphic arts. So not sure if 9mm or not, but.
It's a little nicer than just the usual like X-Acto knife.
Yes. Now years ago we had a care package of Olfa goods sent to us, and we've been making good use of them over the years.
Olfa Dolfa.
Out. Okay, let's push that through cardboard. Get me a cup on top. Now, of course, this is absolutely the kind of rig I'm sure you'd see at like an Evo or something, or whatever. If there is a rhythm game world championships, there's absolutely some small child using some sort of jank rig like this that's absolutely destroying everyone else in the competition.
Are there rhythm game competitions?
There have to be. I don't know of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there have to be. And I'm sure the chat will help us out there too. Oh, Nigoki, was it you who sent all these things? I think it was. Technically, it was the Olfa 141BS, since it was the Japanese packaging that it was sent in.
Right, yeah, of course. There's certainly been DDR tournaments at various things, but that's usually just like as part of like an anime convention or something. Rhythm League.
Uh-oh, there we go. Okay. Well, thank you once again, Nigoki, for sending all that in. It's being well loved. So I guess that means Heather and I need to find a way to go to the Rhythm League. Get a big old sponsorship or something. Well, there we go. That's part of the way there.
Seems it might be a little mushy.
Yep. I think it'll do for our purposes. Okay, so we've got the buttons in. Let's get the buttons in the buttons.
Now, is this a some sort of serial what's it call it? Fancy connection thing where or does the Arduino have enough that it's just like directly each button is connected via pin?
Yeah, no matrix this time. It's one pin for one button, but we will have to do a running ground, which I'm okay with. I think we've actually got a cable where we've got a pre-made running ground for us, so it should be okay. Just a matter of figuring out which. Nope. There we go. Because you have to make sure that the button is able to come up and match up with the up direction in the LED holder. Go. Yeah, I didn't think I would need to order 2 sets of buttons just for one controller, but here we are.
But a rhythm game tournament where, because the trick would have to be, I think that the songs would have to be new, right? Like they'd have to be songs that people haven't just like practiced to heck.
I don't know about that, because part of what makes high-level rhythm gaming fun to watch and fun to do is those people who do spend inordinate amount of time practicing the song and can do it backwards, eyes closed, and start adding embellishments to them.
That's true. I guess if you're that would be the other way to evaluate it, would be like more as like almost a dance competition or something in like a DDR kind of thing.
And you still have to worry about accuracy too.
Right.
Yeah, if you're looking at who's got the perfect rhythm, you can absolutely get down to the millisecond for that, and most rhythm games do.
But I was just thinking for like, doing a thing where it's more, I guess, about skill at rhythm games as opposed to how tightly you've practiced this one song. So it's like you have to, sight read.
Yeah, I think maybe the thing to do then is to say that
have different categories. I guess you'd have to have.
The other thing to do is maybe just make the entire not announce which edition of the rhythm game you're going to do, and just have people have to practice all the different songs if they want to be able to be practiced for it.
And then you have to do the thing which I'm assuming you have to do at every video game tournament, which like they do
Test for drugs.
No, like they do in The Wizard. They have to introduce a new game.
Yep, a new game. Ah.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
What? I mean, let's be honest. That was a very cool thing when it happened. I was so hyped for Super Mario Brothers 3 after seeing the movie because it showed me where the warp zone was.
Ah.
That thing that everyone would just be able to, a child would be able to know that it's there with no questions asked. I don't necessarily think that the LEDs are colored based on the color of the LED or the color of the shell, but I'm still putting them there anyway, just in case.
Well, the top of the button is translucent, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So ideally, really, you probably just want white light coming out anyway, but there's a chance. What if we get a green LED under a yellow translucent top? What then, Paul? Get in. Come on. Find your hole.
This hole was made for you.
Yeah, seriously, get in there. Got the... I can't remember the name of those caves, so I'll just call them the Caves of Amontadillo, but a frat boy version of that. Dude, get in your hole. It's your hole, man. Okay. So, we've now got our button stack, and they're pretty good. Oh, that's good action. I'm real happy with that on my jank board. All right, I guess now is the time when we decide to wire them up. So let's pull out my own.
So these are using those like the spade connectors.
Yes. And thankfully, arcades, it seems, my arcade experience is limited to what I've been provided and worked with on show. But in my experience, pretty much all arcade machines use these lovely spade connectors. And here we go. This is what I was talking about, where I had an extra running ground wire. Mm-hmm. And so let's just see if that's, because we got to do a ground. Which way makes the most sense? I think this way. And if we go on the top piece here, yeah. And then run that to there. Some of these buttons are going to need some twisting.
So each, because each button is going to be individually addressed, there's no issues with like number of button rollover or anything like that.
No, not with, yeah. Because we've got, as you say, that individual button. But the running ground doesn't hurt, thankfully. Just want to make sure I'm using a consistent, it really doesn't matter again because it's just a switch opening and closing. But it's good to keep your connections consistent. Okay, I think this one we're going to want to twist it this way. Tighten that up. This one we're going to want to twist in that way as well. Spacing matters, folks. Oh man, that's... There we go. That's in there good. There we go. And we've got space for 2 more buttons, which is actually kind of handy because that means we can add a 4 more buttons if we want to. So that means we can add a coin and a start button as well, which we're probably going to want to do anyway. So good to know.
And then the other side of that hooks into the ground from the Arduino, eh?
Yes, exactly. So we'll need to crimp a pin on there. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna.
Which, I guess, in turn, uses the ground from the USB or whatever the Arduino is powered off of.
Exactly. Oh, okay. That's so we had a question in the chat there, Shinji16 asking what's the goal for this controller, playing the PS2 versions or playing lively the PC versions? A mix? Yeah, it's going to be a mix. The Arduino software that we're going to be using allows us to be used as a USB HID interface, so it'll be useful for the PC version, arcade versions if we ever wanted to delve into the murky world of playing unauthorized arcade games. But it also has the ability to output to a PS2 controller port. I didn't have enough time to source a PS2 controller port. It's it's on its way from somewhere in China. Thanks, Alibaba.
So there's a so the nice thing though is that somebody's already made the Arduino software to do all this translation.
Exactly, and in fact, it's baked right into the software itself. I just need to change one setting in the code before I flash it. The issue is, and this is where we might want to pop that image up just for fun, there, Paul. Is that while all of the pins are marked off for the buttons themselves, in order to add PS2 support, I need to solder 2 very small points on that board marked in light blue. You can see the SS up here at the top. And that's just a tiny little via hole. And then just slightly, if you follow my finger and then go down from there, a third of the way down the board, you'll see AC. And that also needs to be soldered on. So
What about that 5 volt? Does that also need to be that's also a blue dot?
oh no, that's just that it's that is the 5 volt out hole for there.
And the ones at the bottom, they're the SCK and those ones don't need to be soldered?
No, because those will be on a header. And yeah, that's what I was speaking with earlier about the serial port built into the Leonardo. Makes this sort of thing. The Leonardo, the Uno, and the Micro, the non-Pro Micro. And those allow, that connection, that serial connection with the PlayStation bus. So yeah, once we get that cable from, I don't need the female connector. What I need is a male connector and just the cable. I can get that probably from a thrift shop. This will be much easier.
Did you just realize that you ordered the wrong thing from Alibaba?
Well, the wrong thing, Paul, when you do a lot of electronic work is a relative thing. Might be wrong today, but tomorrow.
So you're saying yes?
Yes, I did. Yes, we did order the wrong thing this time, but it's not a fatal flaw, thankfully. Right, so I've done a bad with one of these, which was that I took the Player One cable. This is from back me working with Naomi and trying to get it to all come together. This is a JAMA harness, which is used for arcades. This plugs into your arcade board itself. And all this mess of wires is meant to connect with the various pieces of your arcade cabinet, so that when you do want to take your arcade cabinet and change it from, say, a Galaga machine to a Pac-Man, you just yank this from the back of your Galaga board, jam this into your Pac-Man, and then that's all the change you need to make, other than, of course, changing the marquee displays and whatnot.
But at the moment, that all this this bundle of wires is superfluous to the Naomi stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're just using it as a convenient bundle of wires, right?
Exactly.
You don't need the actual breakout stuff.
Yeah. So we need 9 wires. The nice thing though is that these are all conveniently already tied together and bundled together, and have the spade connectors on them, which is the important thing, because. Well, we have the spades on these buttons already, and they'll just slot right on. And so what we'll need to do is make sure we've got 9 of them available, and that we can then we'll need to put a pin on them, crimp that there, such that they will fit with the surrounded by knives, and I'll still use my teeth. Get out. Terrible machine. Yeah, we've got our DuPont pin rows on here, so we'll just make sure that we've got a pin out on the end of these cables to go into the places where they need to go. And we can make a nice fancy block one that'll just slot right in, and then that's that. We'll be ready to go. Theoretically.
Now, do you need one for the button and one for the LED?
So the LEDs have their own pins, yeah, and we'll need to be doing a different set for the LEDs. I'm not going to be cutting anything off of this JAMA harness, because none of the spade connectors on here, unfortunately, are big enough to connect to the LED spade connectors. I think I've got around, yes, here we go. I brought an extra pack of other spade connectors that so we can see if they'll fit. In fact, we should just test that right now.
So we have nine wires, or so we've got the ground that is the shared ground, and then nine wires that will be going to the Leonardo, and then another 9 wires going to the Leonardo controlling the LEDs. Is that
exactly?
so?
Yeah.
18 wires in total going to the Leonardo.
LED 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus ground, so that's 10, and then buttons 1 through 11
So
plus ground.
do you need another shared ground for the LED?
I will, and I think that those are, well, so we got a bit of a problem here then. Is that we don't have enough of the large spade connectors to wire up all of our LEDs yet. What we do have is enough to wire up one of them and test if we've got it working correctly. Additionally, because I didn't do enough pre-research, I don't know if the LEDs that are in here are 12 volt or 5 volt. And that will matter. If they are 12 volt, that's an easy fix. We just pull them out, order some 5 volt LEDs, and stick them back in. But if there are 5 volts, then we win and don't have to do anything other than order, or just go down to Princess Auto and get another pack of appropriately sized spade connectors. But yeah, for the start, we just need to work on the connector. Now, we also have this kick harness, which has spade connectors and I believe an appropriate number of wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ground. Ooh, does this have a running ground in it as well? I wonder. Let's open up and find out.
Yeah, why would these have 2 different size spade connectors? Is that just because they hate us? Is there a reason for it?
I don't know for positive if there is a reason, but if I were to guess, it would just be to make it simple to be able to say these spade connectors are your control spades. And these are your light spades, and yeah, so you don't easily cross connect them, as Lady Elrio says.
Right, because theoretically, there's a lot more power going down the LED ones that would be bad to go into the buttons.
Exactly. Well, if they are different voltage too, and if they're not different voltage, then it matters less, but it still matters. It would be useful for how do you call it, troubleshooting.
Right.
12 volt and a 5 volt LEDs unleashing magic smoke. Cool. Well, thankfully we don't have a 12 volt source today, so this will make it easy on us.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we do. Never mind.
So, but I guess if they're 5 volt or if they're 12 volt LEDs and you put 5 volts, it's not going to be a problem. They just won't light up, right? Or they'll light up really dimly.
Maybe. They might light up is the key.
But they won't explode.
Yeah, no.
Oh, hey, Dandy Geek.
Some modular synthesizers that do this with audio versus control voltage. Banana jacks on one end and quarter jack on the other. Ooh, fun.
Of course, because we're so much more sophisticated now, we could just make everything USB-C so that it's all the same connector.
Yes.
And just all different, but every single wire actually has totally different capabilities.
I look forward to,
that'll be so much simpler.
75 watts being sent through my arcade machine thanks to USB-C. All right.
I love that about USB-C, where it's like, we've solved the problem, which we've decided the problem was that there were all these different connectors.
9.
Now it's all one connector, and it's like, but they still have all the same differences and incompatibilities. But now they all look the same. It's like that wasn't the way the connector looked wasn't the problem. The differences in incompatibilities was the problem.
All right. Well, I think I've already done nasty things to this JAMA harness, so I think I'm going to use it as my basis for things going forward here, because it has, I think, the full number of wires we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, there we go. 9 plus the running ground is the magic number. Let's get out that slicer. Where is my best cutting tool? I'm about to start doing a ream through of my electronics parts and tools bins, and I'm beginning to wonder, would that be interesting content? To decide what stuff is going to stay and what's going to go. Okay, and
I mean, that's a brutal, like, there's the sort of, purging whatever is obviously a constant process, but with this kind of electronics, having all sorts of random, parts and connectors and things is almost the whole point of the endeavor. Mm-hmm. So knowing what to get rid of is a tricky one.
I'm going to do myself a favor and just trim a bit more off these cables, just because I don't need the extra length, and I don't want to touch the degraded, what do you call that? Masking tape residue. Ugh, that's going to go in the sticky garbage pile. So yeah, before we get into the crimping and plugging, we're at the top of our hour. So why don't we take a short break, stretch our legs, swap our fluids, and come back for more Tinker Tailor Solder Fry in just a few minutes. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry here on the Mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name's Ian. We got Paul on tech right now, and we're in the midst of wiring up a Poppin' Music controller. I've got my wire harness here ready to go, but before we do anything else, I want to wire up the ground, because that's going to be fun, right? So we're going to use DuPont connectors for this, and I'm just thinking to myself, do I want... Ooh. We're going to be using a lot of these pins on this friend here. In fact, this entire bottom bit here, which is pins 0 through 7, is going to be its own block of button bits. And then from here up, we're looking at butts 9, 10, 11, and then LEDs 1, 2, and 3, and then ground up to the ground pin there. So these are going to be significant blocks, but I'm just going to start making some pins for them, and then I guess we can slot them into appropriate connectors as we go along.
So the ground for the button control and the ground for the LEDs can be the same ground off the Arduino, right?
Yeah, it's the same ground, because it's all coming, because the power for the LEDs is also coming off the Arduino as well.
Right.
Which I guess means that it's going to be sending 5-volt logic to them. Well, not logic, because it's just it's an on or off, but it's sending 5 volts is the key.
Which is that thing where we're not sure whether the LEDs are actually 5-volt LEDs.
Yeah, and I think we'll do a test of that too, just to.
Does it say something on the packaging of the buttons?
No. I would love that if that were the case. What I can tell you about these buttons is this, Paul, that they are X0048VA8CX button, and that they are new.
Oh.
So,
well, they're new. That's good.
and the man who is a star is giving us a thumbs up. So thank you to Wengzhou Lei Zhujin Animation Technology Corporation Limited for your button technology. Not a sponsor.
That checks out.
Absolutely not a sponsor. Because you're all cowards. I've given up on being nice, Paul. I'm now threatening potential sponsors with their need to be helpful. Right, and this is what happens when you buy a cheap crimper, is that you need to fix the crimp connections just a bit by just bringing them down in size a bit. A little extra crimp.
You're trying to nag your sponsors.
Potential sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so if we're doing LEDs, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 connectors. Do I have a 7 connection?
Wait, shouldn't it be 9?
So on, if you'll bring up the diagram again, I'm looking at the top section
I see.
here. Yeah,
But there's
so
two.
ground.
There's 2 on the other side. I see.
Yeah, so 7 is total. What we're doing here. Get 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Okay, that's too big.
So the idea is that you'd like it, rather than using a whole bunch of like single connections, it would be better if you could use one large sort of comb.
Exactly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. And that, because that it introduces stability when all of the pins can go in at once. And just handy that way. So it's going to be in the top.
Is there some electrical reason why there's the space between pin 8 and 7?
My guess is, I don't know the reason. Just looking at the back here, looking at the traces. Yeah, none that I can see. It might just be that there's they want to separate the transmission and the pulse width modulation. No, because they're all across. Yeah, I can't see any reason, to be honest. Need to squish this down a bit more so it'll fit inside the DuPont connector. Have this in the pin 1 position. If they don't go in nice and... Oh yeah, you need to do it from the top too, that's the problem. DuPont pins and connectors are great if they crimp properly the first time, and they don't always do that. So you need to massage it a bit sometimes to get in to place.
You must crimp the connector doucement.
And once you get it in right, it just slips in, and the tiny little clip keeps it from pulling out.
Oh, nice.
And there we go. That's ground taken care of. And as you can see, that fits right nicely in there. Connects up with the rest of the pin.
Okay.
And so that'll be good when we eventually get the rest of these in. But this actually makes things... Nope, that doesn't change anything. I was going to say this makes it easy to test the LEDs, but it doesn't. It doesn't do anything for that. What's the best way to test those? I'm sure I've got something that can properly barrel in, right? Let me see here. This actually might help us. Yep, good. We'll just use this here. Oh no, did I do the wrong thing again? And by the wrong thing, I mean it's not really that bad, but I will have to do the thing where I ask Paul, do we have a USB-C cable handy that I can have? A to C, specifically.
A to C?
Yes.
We should. Well, let me just check.
Thank you. I should keep one in here with this this board, but I don't often do that. And by this board, well, I'll tell you about it in a second once Paul gets back to the area where he might be able to switch cameras. But we need the USB-C because the USB-C is connected to a device that I have connected to my prototyping board. Little short one? Oh, thank you, Paul. Yes, short will be fine. And we're going to connect that into the special power draw section of my laptop. Because we're going to play with this for a second. Oop, oop. This is my prototyping board, and this is, Canarduino. Not a sponsor, but I love this piece of technology because what it is it makes using a prototyping board so much more useful. USB-C goes in. That can go to USB-C on the other end or USB-A. And what it does is it has a serial connection in there, as you can see from the pinouts here. And that's useful for flashing boards or communicating with boards that you have on your breadboard. What it also has is the ability to swap between, for the serial at least, it's between 3.3 and 5 volts. But your rails along the edges here, because this thing has a buck converter in it, can then output anything between 3.3, 5, and 12 volts on your rails, and you can have 2 separate rails. And it's super useful for prototyping this sort of thing. So this is what we're going to use to test what voltage our LEDs work at.
Spiffy diffy.
Yeah, so I'm just going to chunk that in.
So we start at the low voltage and then we go upward. Yeah, okay, right.
Yes. And actually, I'm going to grab this other one here, and hopefully, just kind of wrapping the wire around the LED will be enough to give us something, as long as we keep it tight. So let's start at 3.3 because we don't need to go any higher than that. Oh, you know what? Hey,
hey.
3.3 looks pretty darn illuminated. Let's kick it up to 5. Let's not go to 12, but let's kick it up to 5.
Ooh. That's brighter.
That's an LED. Do we want to go to 5, or do we want to go to 12?
I don't. I feel like that would be. Like if how much is it? I guess the question is how much is it supposed to be lit up?
That's a good question. I mean, this is a sacrificial LED in my opinion because this is the wrong button type. Let's do it. 12. Come on, do it. Oh,
that's a lot brighter.
So these might be 12-volt LEDs, but 5 volt is, in my opinion, good enough for what we're doing.
Hang on, let me
pull it down.
No, I'm just going to quickly pull the lights, the studio lights down.
Go for it.
So this is 5.
Let's go 3.
3. 5.
5.
And then that's 12.
Oh, that's 12 there. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. I think 5 is just fine. Great.
Nice.
Well, that's, you know what? This little board just proved its worth immediately. Yoink. Okay, so that means we can absolutely move ahead with just wiring up these LEDs directly into the board, which is what I was curious as to what we can do. That removes a lot of complication and step down converters and step up converters and just a lot of problems.
Now the 5 volts on the LEDs are being provided by the Arduino board. Can the Arduino board provide 5 volts?
Ah, this is where the wonder of power comes in. The difference between amperage and voltage. And that just means we need to make sure that we're feeding the Arduino with enough amperage to hop over the need to drive 9 LEDs. And I do believe we'll have no problem with that as long as we, in that barrel connector, just feed it enough. I don't know. We could calculate the amount, but I don't know what the draw level on these LEDs is. So,
but it can do it. I guess it can pass that through without the board itself over.
I do believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, we've got this. We should probably decide what button number. Unfortunately, the software doesn't tell me what color of button corresponds to what button it is, but that's okay. Once we get them in these DuPont connectors, they're easy to pull out and mix and match, or even just based on we can just move the spade connectors around themselves. So let's just get chopping. Back when I was a young kid, just starting out on the internet, I didn't know who Chopin was, which is something that would turn out to haunt me later in life as we played various bad rhythm games. But I originally thought, my first time experiencing the name was in a mod file, not even a MIDI file, but a mod file that was called I Love Chopin, which I always thought was pronounced I Love Choppin'.
I just love chopping.
Love me some choppin'. And it was only years later that I discovered, no, Chopin is a man, and that's not how you say his name.
You're listening to the music, and you're like, this is very nice classical music, but I wouldn't really call this like chopping music.
Chopping, is that a subset of shredding? Okay, you know what? Let's coin a new term here. Chopping is the piano equivalent to shredding. If you're just absolutely killing it on the piano, you are now chopping.
There's a great clip I remember of Andrew WK, big
yes, noted Gundam fan,
and also loud music, party music, whatever, but also classically trained pianist.
Yep.
And he was on like Much Music or something, and they had a piano, like a little sort of baby grand piano. And he was talking about how he's been experimenting with trying to what you need to do to get like the most noise out of a piano, right? Because it's not just like hit the keys as hard as possible.
Yeah, no.
Because depending on with the dynamics of the inside of the piano, what's the most efficient to make the loudest thing you can do out of a piano. And he sort of give this whole run up of what he was experimenting with, and then he's about to do it, and he goes, he pounds down on the piano, the front legs of the piano buckle, and it just drops onto like his leg, like onto his thigh.
Oh no!
And it's like, okay, so that didn't work.
Oh, was he okay? Because
he was okay. But
Pianos are not light,
No,
no matter what piano you've got. In terms of pianos, though, I'm most curious about the, just in the middle of the pandemic, I think, there was a British kid who decided he wanted to know what it sounded like if a piano did not have any of the the curves in it. They just wanted to make a long piano, and it was just a like a room length grand piano.
Is that wait? Because in order to get the right sound for the wires, they have to be.
Like, I think there's some shenanigans going on with pianos in terms of, as you say, the length of them and bending them around. Hopefully, the chat will be here to help me out. But
Or they're just like thicker wire. Like I don't actually know.
thicker wire. That's it.
I don't know. So he's doing it all with the same gauge of wire.
I think so. Yeah, and then just making a long.
So it's just a long piano. I love that.
I just like the name long piano.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my! Do I have an 8? Is that why? Is that why they're broken up that way? No, that might not be it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 appears to be the longest DuPont connector. So we need 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So that's a 9. This will be an 8. Yes, perfect. Okay. I am declaring it. White is 1. You know what? No, maybe I'm gonna change it. White is 8. I think we've had enough.
Although on the actual board, both 1 and 8 are white buttons, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, 1 and 9 would be white buttons. So that makes sense. Great. Good thinking, Paul. Thank you.
I mean, I guess the wires won't necessarily match, but
no. Right. Crunch and munch. It's the wire end that doesn't like being placed into this connector. Sometimes what you need to do is just yank it yourself into position. And when it doesn't matter if they're going to be repositioned, you can just do that. Okay, white's in. Let's just comb this out so it's nice and pretty, so we're not rotating things too much. There we go. All right, what do I like? Well, you know what? Brown's right there. Brown is the next color. Brown, you have volunteered yourself. Yeah, I think I crimp things just rarely enough that I don't need to buy a better crimping tool.
it is annoying that this particular crimping tool does not work as well as you might like, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's probably an adjustment I can do to it, but...
Although I do love that the brand name is Nessigu.
Oh, okay, so you're pronouncing it Nessigu. I've always gone with Nekigu.
Nekigu?
Yeah, Nekigu. But I will accept a Nessigu as well. Okay, that's, you know what, that happens. When you don't shove it deep enough in. It doesn't properly crimp.
Oh. Yeah, we've had extremely I should say mixed results in doing our crimping of SDI cables for here at the office. I think again a combination of not lack of skill in the crimping and also possibly not very good tools and or actual like crimp, like the actual like heads that fit onto the wires
Yeah.
being relatively low quality. But we've lost a few cables that way, where we sort of have used them for a bit and then realized that they're completely the end is completely come off. I wish there was a better system. Whatever the cable equivalent to like those those electrical, I forget what they're called, but those little like electrical clamps to attach to electrical things together that are super nice and easy to use. But
Well, that's 2 down, and I've completely messed up there.
WAGO connectors, WAGO.
Oh, the Wago, yes.
WAGO connectors. The WAGO connector version of like an SDI thing where it just sort of like clips in and locks.
Love those things.
Because it's not even the actual crimping that's the problem. It's with SDI cables in particular. It's very finicky about because you have to like you have to strip the
shroud.
The shroud, and then there's like a layer of
What is that? Woven
of
grounding.
Like, there's a layer of like mesh, whatever you call it. That's the protective, whatever, anti electrical signal stuff, RF shielding, and then you have sort of another layer of rubber, and then you have the internal actual wire, and so you have to cut both the outer sheath and the inner wire, but at different lengths, and then fold the shielding back and do all sorts of stuff. And I don't do it right.
You and me both sometimes. Yeah, it's that stripping, I think, that is the biggest problem we have.
Yeah. I've definitely, you're like, okay, I need whatever 25 feet of cable, and by the time you're actually done putting the end on it, it's like 23 feet of cable because of having to like, nope, didn't get it, cut. Nope, didn't get it, cut.
I need to be less gentle, is what I'm learning here.
Mm.
Okay, hopefully that's the right side. Nope, that needs a bit of right in the middle.
It's always that strange dichotomy of electronics where it's this balance of very delicate and sometimes surprisingly large amount of force required in different circumstances. And knowing when to apply which thing is the important bit.
And where.
Yeah.
That's kind of exactly what we're undergoing right now, is trying to figure out how much force in which direction and where to make this pin go into its slot in a clean way. keep not doing that. Okay, there we go. Now it's in.
There's like a little tab that locks it in, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And getting it into there is, if your pins are too big or whatnot, it can be difficult. There we go. But at least that's in there now. And once it's in there, ideally it never goes anywhere. Ideally. All right. Next up, we got... I want to try and keep this somewhat clean. So we got brown and white, right? There we go. Brown and white there. Let's just bring each other color in individually. Red next.
You see, like in the big sort of industrial setups in factories and production places, they've got like little mounts on the table that sort of stretch out the wires and keep them aligned with each other to make like the ribbon or whatever.
A proper loom.
Right, yeah, a loom. They call it.
They are not cheap because they are skillfully built and take time. I say this being someone who has been recently looking at possible Honda conversions for my Mini, which would require a loom transplant. And yeah, big money on electrical looms for cars.
It's, yeah, I guess the precision of having so many wires all sort of connected in the right way.
Yep.
Yes. These days things are moving more towards, USB and serial type connections.
Unfortunately, that does not reduce the amount of wiring in the car. In fact, increases it.
I saw a YouTube video.
There we go.
Showing what was going a deep dive into an old pinball machine.
Oh, is this Technology Connections?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
An electromechanical pinball machine.
Yep, the old school.
And the wiring harnesses, like that thing must have been like half copper.
Yep.
The number and just the number of wires and the giant sort of bundles of wires going everywhere, because it's like everything is just like has to be directly connected, because it's it's all analog, it's all
the mechanical rotary connectors.
It's all mechanical, it's all got to be so yeah, if there's 5 different things, you need 5 physical wires connected. It's like there's no matrixing, there's no multipath, whatever.
No circuits, or no, all circuits, but no digital.
No like microcontrollers or anything. It's all just yeah.
Whereas that's exactly the sort of thing that would be oh come on, serviced well by, say, a bunch of microcontrollers running SPI or I2C to send that information back and forth. Yeah, they had to be their own standalone machines in a certain way, because they only did one thing, and that was play pinball.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like those, like the custom built like production line, machines to like whatever make to make canned corn or something where everything is sort of custom. All the conveyor belts and these special things are all very precision designed for this one job to move, and they're all sort of put together in a very precise way.
Paul,
and has to be custom. The wonderful sort of how things are made videos of those production lines. It's almost the same thing with the pinball machine, but it's all electrical instead of physical things moving around.
Well, there was a semi-recent article on Hackaday too about that factory control protocol that some guy ended up using that gets used on factory floors because all these sorts of factory equipment do have a standardized protocol to work on, and I think it's serial based. But the point is, the guy was using it to control his home automation system, which was very cool. But it's interesting to know that you can just build a factory with computer control like that and have a standards compliant control software system.
I guess it would be just all about about the like timing and everything.
Mm-hmm. And receiving like a ready signal from the upcoming machine, having your previous machine react to that and send the part out.
It's the kind of thing you wouldn't want to be like, whatever, IP based or something.
Mm-hmm. It was the kind of thing that actually was my first job as a intern at Dow Chemical. Was to translate a bunch of this old factory logic to Windows PowerShell logic.
Wow.
And I was 16 and out of my depth.
So, is there some factory somewhere running on PowerShell that 16-year-old Ian wrote?
Nope. Ian did not write a line of PowerShell code. Ian spent a summer reading about PowerShell. And yeah, that was a wake-up call, to say the least, for, the Mac kid at the time.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I wasn't even willing to take the 50 floppy disk challenge to install Linux in 1998 on my Power Mac 7100. Okay, these are going in a lot easier than previously. They still require a little bit of yankage, but as long as the wire maintains its connection, that's what matters. We're getting there, though. Gray this time. See, the problem is I think the wiring in this is just a bit too big for the crimps that I'm trying to make.
Oh, it's not quite the right gauge.
Yeah, no, well, the plastic is the problem. At least I think that's the problem. It could be anything. Okay, need more pins. There we go. Pin in the crimper. Crimping is one of the hardest things to do for the camera because it is so small what you're dealing with. Like what I'm looking at is trying to line up this tiny bit of wire on the end here. And then you can't even see back here. I think maybe you can. That's kind of a mark that's made by the stripper, which I just use as a sort of reference mark. But I've got to get that crimp mark just up to the edge of the side of the crimp tool here. And the crimp tool, as you can see, is, well, that's the hole that I need to jam it in deep enough that it can get grabbed by the jaws of the actual crimp pin. And so trying to shave down.
I wonder what the, what's the sort of God hand equivalent of for wire crimpers.
Shoot, I know the name of Klein is the name of it, I believe. The company that makes electrical tools, which I would say are the God hands of electronics makers.
Mm.
Yeah, when you ruin it bad enough that you need to actually just chop it and do another one. Well, this is also a case of my my thought of buy the cheap tool first, because that way you'll know if you're going to continue to use it and if you need to get a better quality one.
Mm.
And I think I'm just about at the case now with regards to these crimpers that I'm feeling that.
Yeah, what's the cutoff for you? Like, how many times do you have to use a tool before you're like? I guess it depends also on how good the cheap version is versus the good version.
Yeah,
How much discrepancy there is.
Like if the cheap version is good enough that I never notice that I need to upgrade, then it's fine. I'm done. But if I can repeatedly tell, like, oh yeah, this is failing because of this reason, or I need, like, it's not a time thing. I think it's a repetition thing. And when I can say, okay, I'm going to be crimping some stuff, I better bring my wire strippers because they're a different tool. Got to bring my crimper because that's what actually does the crimping. And then I need to bring a third tool because it needs to be used to clean up the crimp job. That's the sign that this tool is not doing its job. In my mind, a proper crimper should not require this level of fiddling and playing around post crimp. It should just be, it goes in smoothly, clicks in place, and we're done.
Right. Yeah. Like presumably the people who are, building these cables on a large scale have some sort of, and I mean there might also be the thing with like, that you get you can get like a DuPont crimper that has, as opposed to the sort of standard crimpers that are sort of mediocre at doing anything. You can get ones that just do, DuPont, that are made specifically to just do the DuPont.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what these crimpers are for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, is specifically for DuPont style crimps of a couple different sizes, but.
They've got like different. Don't they have like different plates that you can put in?
Yeah, 3 different jaws. Well, this one, technically, I guess you could replace them. It does have the screws, but.
Because I think we've got a pair of something that looks similar to those. That again we use for doing the for making SDI cables and stuff, but just with different little plates in it.
There is, I guess, a bit of finesse too.
Mm-hmm.
I've just now changed up my technique a bit by, instead of pushing the, so this is going to be very difficult to see. Maybe let's get to the ultra tight camera, because I need to do at least one more pin, and this will be a good demonstration. So when you're doing a crimp, the first step for me is setting the pin in there, and there's not sure if you can see inside there's a ridge on the inside, which is kind of where you're supposed to place the edge of the crimper, or the edge of the pin. So what I've been doing, though, that I find easier is what you do is you bring it down, click just enough, there's just enough pressure that it's holding it in place. It's not going to fall out. And so to make it easier to make sure that there's enough insulation that's grabbing the end of the pin, I've been pushing that pin as close to the edge, and you can see it just poking out a bit there now. And that gives me enough space that I can then see the insulation going in between those ends, and then you get it clamped down, and that keeps it in place.
Right, because the bottom of the pin is supposed to be crimped around the insulation of the cable, not the bare wire.
Yeah, so you've got a end here, which is just like two pointy ends that grips the wire and maybe goes through the insulation. Then your second bit here comes down and crimps around the bare wire. So this is more just for force gripping. This is the actual connection point. Huh. And real M20 clippers look big different, apparently.
M20 is the technical term for the DuPont connector?
I don't know. I'm going to have to ask chat to give us a ruling on that one, but I've always known them just as the DuPont connector, but there might be there could be different sizes involved.
For some reason, I'm imagining one of those, very artful documentary or videos of like the old craftsman, who rather than using like a crimp or whatever is just using like a pair of pliers, and it's just doing the crimping just by hand.
Ah, I believe we have a name for those people. They are the auto enthusiast.
Probably forming the connector actually out of just like bare metal.
All right. Unfortunately, we have two more pin or wires on this bit of the loom here. I mean, not unfortunately, just means one of them's going to have to go into another pin block, but... Oh, thank you, Arclight. M20 and DuPont are similar standards. DuPont connector isn't actually a standard. It's an informal term that can mean up to 4 different standards. Lovely.
Right, I remember we did run into that thing where like with the metric versus imperial pitch on the plugs.
Oh God, yes.
Which was fun.
We need one standard, people. Oh, and I'd already done a pin. Silly me. Okay, into the hole, push it through the end so that it's getting a good grip on the plastic. Good tight connection. Tighten it up with the pliers. That should make it small enough to get in there. Oh, that's perfect. Just gonna yank it through. Okay. You know what? Just because I don't ever trust myself these days, we're gonna do a quick continuity test on these.
So then the other side of those have to have the spade connectors attached to them, right?
Which is why I used the...
they're pre-spaded.
Yes, which is why I cut them off the loom, because they are, as you say, pre-spaded. All right. White is... good. Brown is... good.
Is it deliberate that it's got that little window for you to test through?
Window free. Oh, this part here?
Yeah.
You know what? It's probably useful for testing. This is really what we're looking at here. This is the latch point where they latch into the pins so they don't pull out. But I think, yeah.
It has the additional convenience of being a sort of a good test spot.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Touch the rainbow. Good.
Yeah.
Gray is...
As the great Bob Barker said, make sure you spade your wires.
Spade and neuter your wires. Okay, that's 100% good, and I don't do not need to check for crosswise because it doesn't happen. Okay, and then this is butt 9 because 10 and 11 are butts for coin and whatnot, I think. Well, at least that's how we're going to wire it up to be. So we just need to add one wire to the second pin block. And then I think we're good to actually start looking at wiring things into the Arduino, or rather flashing said Arduino, and then maybe doing a quick test.
So theoretically, if we get this plugged into the Arduino, and then plug the Arduino into the laptop, we should get that, we should be able to see that, the gamepad config screen showing up with the button numbers.
Should be, yeah. It should show up as a standard HID device. And the PlayStation functionality as well should also work simultaneously, but you should not plug in USB and PlayStation at the same time. Otherwise, you may be tempting fate in terms of running some current through to your PlayStation. So don't do that. And I'll just pull that through. Come on, grab.
This one is for just an extra couple of buttons.
Yeah, there's a couple of buttons that don't fit on the first block.
Right.
So there's we've got the 9 buttons, and then 2 more buttons will go into this particular block. Buttons 10 and 11, which I'm guessing, or I'm just going to say that we'll wire up to coin and start later on, and then the other 3 of those will be LEDs.
Right.
So let's not plug that in yet. Let's do the flashing first, and then, God willing, we'll be able to do this. We'll be able to give this a quick test. And then maybe we'll wire in an LED and see if it does that properly.
So the idea behind the LEDs is that those are being directly controlled by the Arduino, not by whatever you push the button and the LED lights up.
A little both, actually.
Oh, but the game can also send the signal to.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether there was a return path there. That's interesting.
Fair. All right, let's plug this in and see if Windows recognizes things okay. Hey, we're setting up.
I hear bootadoop.
We are setting up Arduino Leonardo. The problem is, anytime I hear the name Leonardo, I am instantly transported back to the Clerks cartoon.
I was thinking the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but...
Oh yeah, that's he was a much better human. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle was a much better human being than Leonardo. All right, let's extract to Ultimate Pop-In Controller Master. Yes, if you would like to make this yourself, we are using the Crazy Red Machine is the name of the coder, and his project on GitHub is Ultimate Pop-In Controller.
So this is not. So this is the Arduino software that this person wrote is not like generic turn your Arduino into a arcade.
No.
This is specifically turn an Arduino into a pop and music controller.
Specifically for a pop music arcade controller as well.
Right.
If you check out the site, they've also made their own custom I/O shields to make things even easier for them, and splices out the 12 volts. Should you want to use, well, because you're going to be using 12 volt probably in the arcade to do your stuff. All right, let's open up the INO file. Where'd you go there? Pop and controller. There you go. Load INO. And we're going to have to add a library as well, if I am not.
By the way, sorry, folks, we don't have, for whatever reason, the NDI showing Ian's screen software was not working.
For some reason, NDI decided it wanted to not help me out. But, so there is a place to define PS2 or PSX compatibility. We can just do that with a 1 or a 2. We just uncomment some code there. I'm not going to encode that for right now. We're just going to try and compile and upload it as is as a head device, and then we'll come back to the PlayStation compatibility a little bit later in the future.
When you've got that the cable to splice together.
Exactly. When we've got the ability to hook it up to a PlayStation and actually test it. Where is my library? Manage libraries. There we go. Because we need to add a couple there. Specifically, bounce 2.
Bounce? That's like a debounce library?
You are exactly correct. Things that we have run into well in the past when doing some of our desert bus button technology. Debouncing has always been been an issue.
It took me a long time in the programming that I do in like JavaScript. There's a library I was working with that has functions for debouncing and throttling and things like that for situations where you want to limit the how fast the particular function is being called. Mm-hmm. And it was I understood, I got the sort of figured out how they differ and how they work and different things like that, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But why one was called debounce, I was like, that makes no sense. Why is it called debounce? Why is the thing that it only actually it only actually fires when there hasn't been a input for a certain amount of time? Why is that called debounce? And then it's like, oh, I see what they mean.
Don't do the bounce.
Because on electrical connections, it isn't always, or it's often not a perfect perfect.
Well, it is a perfect binary. It's just that it happens a lot over the course of a time.
Well, it's not but as an electrical connection gets made, it's not an individual necessarily, like a perfectly clean individual thing. As the conductors get closer together, there could be a connection, then a lack of a connection, then it could jump over the thing slightly or whatever. So you end up with multiple instances going through. Hence it bouncing. And so you do not want it bouncing, so you have to debounce it.
think the name of the keypad. Oh wait, Chris A. No, that's a different person. Well, I'm gonna install it anyway.
This is the software requires some extra libraries.
A couple libraries, yeah. Ah, okay, so controller has 13 buttons, 9 buttons, plus coin, plus service, plus reset, plus test. But that's okay. We don't need that. I just want to make sure I'm not doing it, need to do anything else in terms of changes support for the Leonardo. There's only 11 buttons and 9 lights. No keypad support. That's great. Reactive mode won't include AC light simulation. That's okay. We don't have top lights. You'll need to select Leonardo as your board type in the Arduino IDE. Well, let's do that then. Tools. Board. SparkFun Pro Micro. No. This is a... Why are they not... Aha! Leonardo. Let's verify. Compile that sketch. Taking its time.
So right now it's being powered directly from the USB, I guess.
Yes. I was just realizing I can make this easier for you.
Oh, hey.
There we go. You might need to flip things over, but...
So there's also that barrel connector if you want to power it without USB.
Well, and that might be what we need, actually, when we connect it to a computer as a HID device. I'm not entirely certain, but we probably don't. Anyway, the compilations seem to be okay, so let's do an upload and see if we're good. I guess you can only see the bar at the bottom, but... Couldn't find board. Okay, check you have the correct port selected. Oh, this is probably where you need to hit the reset button.
Or there's also the thing where the USB pretends to be a serial port and you have to make sure it's the right.
We got it.
Oh, you got it?
I think so. Connecting to programmer. Programmer's not responding. Ah, hell. Yeah, we have this problem often, as you mentioned. Right, that was compile. Okay, upload. Aha, there we go. And we're done. Setting up Poppin' controller.
Ooh.
Okay, Poppin' controller set up and ready to go. Well, do we dare just hit... Well, let's first of all check our game controller. Poppin' controller shows up there. And we got buttons. Okay. Okay. Well... was about to connect these and start pushing buttons, and that would not work. Let's move that to the side. Let's move this to the side. Let's take a celebratory quick sip here. And let's connect up our harness. Disconnect from the disconnect from the computer while we plug things in, because it's always better to do that. Ground to ground, and I mean, it really doesn't matter which direction we go on this, but all the pins in. Okay, and then let's connect some pins, shall we? We'll obviously have to figure these out later, and we're not playing any games with it tonight, so this makes it easy. But let's just give every one of these buttons its own spade. Oh, the anticipation of a successful project is real here. It's so real I can almost taste it. Tastes like pennies. Ian, you've got a 3-volt connection connected to you for some reason under the skin. Okay, let's flip this over. These aren't going to light up yet, because we haven't done anything with regards to LEDs, but let's plug it in and let's see what happens when we test some buttons. So, already knows about our poppin' music, so let's go to controllers. Set up USB game controllers, double click that. You can see you've got your numbers there.
I see a light.
Yep. 4, 5, 1, 2, 9, 3, 6, 7, 8. That's all of them.
Welcome to Counting with Tinker Tailor Solder Fry.
Oh, so we're just missing the 10 and 11, which we obviously haven't actually hooked up yet, but that's buttons.
Nice.
Yeah. Huh. Do we want to quickly try one LED just to see what happens when we do that? I think we've got enough time for that.
All right. So this would also, I mean, theoretically, I guess this could also just work as this is just a hit controller.
Essentially, yeah, at this point.
So, any game that is compatible with a controller, you could just map these buttons to. Even though this is intended for pop-in music.
Let's make this easy on ourselves. We're not going to wire anything in right this time, but we're just going to grab one of these. Actually, I'm going to grab 2 of those because we're going to need a way back. Yes, these are just male to female, input to output DuPont connectors. And we're going to grab a couple wires here from the breadboarding box, because those will connect into the back of these input to outputs. The idea being that, remember we had those just kind of hooked around the LED connectors here? Ow. Ow, he says. We're going to do that again, but without as much of the ow and with more of the...
Oh, you're just going to wrap it around there instead of trying to attach the spade connector.
Well, instead of wasting a spade connector, because I don't have the proper connections for that. But what we can do is just connect those in there and there.
Now, how the LEDs light up isn't something that's actually controlled by Windows. That's actually on the in the Arduino sketch itself, right?
Exactly.
So you need to set that setting and re-flash it.
No, it's already in the code. I just need to plug this into one of the buttons. So, actually, this is one of those things I feel comfortable connecting to the board as is. So let's plug that back in. Let's go to the controller.
So is the current configuration for the board just light up when you push the button?
I think it's to turn off when I push the button. Ah, because the ground isn't plugged in.
Ah.
So 4 is the button. So what's the pin for button 4? LED 4 is A5. So we'll need to go from A5 to a different ground, which is thankfully marked on the board.
It has to be a different... Boom!
This works so well. Okay, here's a question. They had the change for modes. You can press button 2 while holding the service. Okay, so you can change the modes by pressing the service switch, which we don't have currently hooked up, and button 2 left yellow. So this should be 1, this should be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, that. Can't believe that works. I mean, that's probably due to the fact that we don't have a solid connection to the wire, but push button and light up.
Perfect.
Change the mode to push button and light off. Either way, folks, we've got ourselves a working Pop and Music controller, to the point where if we had a version of Pop and Music installed on one of these computers and you could see it, we could probably play it as it is. But as it stands...
Would not be the most ergonomic setup, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, this is excellent.
Yeah, I would consider this to be a success in the Tinker Tailor compendium. So this is only going to be part 1 of this one. We're going to come back and we're going to do more of this later. We'll probably come back and definitely wire up version 2 for you all, and we'll definitely be coming back to drill some holes in wood. Ooh, do we want to do that, or do we? Yeah, we'll do that, and then I'll paint it off screen because painting's no fun to watch. Or maybe we'll hook up something in the Tilty House crystal gondola so you can watch the painting happen. One of the way or the other.
And then I guess you will hopefully see it on Rhythm Cafe at some point in the future.
That's the idea. But yeah, wow, I'm really happy with how this came out so far. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching Tinker Tailor Solder Fry this week on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. One more time, a reminder that everything we do here is brought to you by you via your kind monthly support over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you so much for continuing to help us do everything we do. And of course, a thanks to everyone else who supports us in the myriad of other ways we have available stored on Loading Ready Run, twitch.tv, and YouTube. And of course, if you're just in the chatting along with us as we make the show, or if you're just watching either at home on YouTube or live, we are so happy to have all of you here with us as we continue to do all the ridiculous things here on the Loading Ready Run streams. So once again, from myself and from Paul, thank you so much for watching Tinker Tailor Solder Fry today. Remember, we will see you in a fortnight, never in Fortnite, ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.